welcome to the Heart of Giving. Our program, as you know, is for nonprofits, giving you a chance to know what's happening in our city with people that are helping each other. And also, I know you know that we have a very diverse population, and it's very important that all of the populations of the city feel wanted, needed, and their needs are taken care of also. And today we have someone who is the director of the United Cambodian Community. And she is very young, and I think kind of new to her job, so we'll get a chance to know her too. That's Susanna Sneum. And Susanna, I'm glad that you're here because you haven't been in your job too long.
No, for about 2 months, and it's a pleasure to have this opportunity to meet with you and talk with you.
Very good. Well, we're just delighted that you're here, and you have assumed a very big responsibility with the Cambodian community. And before we talk about what you do every day now, can we just ask a little bit about you? How long have you been here?
I was born and raised in Long Beach.
Okay, very good.
So my family came here in the early 80s. My parents immigrated here from Cambodia, and they were Cambodian refugees. They survived the Khmer Rouge, and they came from the Thai refugee camps. And at first, they immigrated to Kansas because they were sponsored by a family there. But then it was too cold. And
I know.
We had family members
They
here.
like California.
It is, it is. Long Beach has the perfect weather. And also there was already a Cambodian community here, and so we were very well integrated into the community here in Long Beach when we moved here. So I was born and raised in Central Long Beach. I went to Poly High School, go Jack
Very
Rabbits.
good, so did I.
Very good, very good.
Well, that's wonderful. So you are a Long Beach person.
I am.
And your family, and when they first came, it was a real adjustment, I'm sure.
It was. Luckily for me, my father was educated, and so he came here with a little bit of knowledge about the English, and also he went to Long Beach City College and graduated from there.
Very good.
And then my mother, she came here with only a third grade level education, and that's very similar to a lot of Cambodians that come here. And she had to really learn and adjust. There was a lot of language barriers that happened because
I think not just with your family.
Exactly. Because I was growing up here, I spoke English, and then my mother spoke mainly Khmer, and so we were both trying to communicate with one another. But then she started learning English herself. She actually went to the Long Beach Adult School to start and did the ESL class there. And through that, she started practicing, and then through her work, she was a seamstress at first in terms of she worked actually at our home sewing clothes for only 25 cents a garment.
Oh my goodness.
And through that, my parents actually were very entrepreneurial in terms of they had a lot of small businesses here in Long Beach, and she got connected to another business owner who was a seamstress, and so through that she became a seamstress at a local business here in Long Beach.
Very good.
Yes, very, very good. I mean, that shows the resiliency of my mother and just kind of the strengths that I gained.
Because so many of them came. And we now have had for a long time, I think, the largest Cambodian population outside of Cambodia.
Correct.
In one place.
Correct.
Isn't that something?
And then we have Cambodia Town, which is the first of its kind to be designated here in Long Beach.
On Anaheim. Okay, now, did you ever know that you were going to end up being the director of the Cambodian community?
No, no. I think I knew at a very young age that I was very special in terms of when I grew up in Central Long Beach, I was one of the few Cambodian Americans that were part of Honor Roll or part of PACE at the Poly High School. And I knew even more so how special it was to be a Cambodian American when I went to college. So I went to University of California, Irvine, and I studied psychology. And through that, I was only a handful of Cambodian Americans that went to UCI. And I saw the disparities that were happening in my community, that a lot of us were not getting higher education. And I knew that I wanted to give back to the community in many ways because there were so many other people that came before me, mentors who invested in me and in my leadership, that I wanted to do the same for the younger generation and also to give back to the older generation that I so respect and honor. And there's a lot of support that they also need. So I started off doing more individual work. I studied social work, and then I did AmeriCorps for 2 years and did community development work in Central Long Beach. And because of that, I really saw how it was not only important to help develop somebody on their own individually, but also at a community level, and just saw how greater that impact was. And because of that, I wanted to continue to grow in my learning. So I went back to school. I got my master's in social work from the University of Southern California, and I wanted to come back and learn, give back what I learned into the community. So fortunately, on my second year, I interned at the City of Long Beach in Development Services with Tracy Kalunga, who is the Violence Prevention Coordinator, and she was a former board member of United Cambodian Community. And through that, I was connected to the former executive director and started volunteering from there. And that's when after I graduated, I came on with UCC as their program developer, and now I'm their executive director.
Wonderful, and you just told me everything I was going to ask, and I didn't have to say a word. It just came. That was wonderful. And so you've been with them in some capacity for how long then?
Almost 3 years.
Almost 3 years. And then when this came open, this position came open, you were well qualified for it because of your education and the fact that you had been there a while.
Correct. I mean, United Cambodian Community has been in the community for over 38 years.
I know. Oh, 38 years?
38 years is our anniversary this year in October.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
Right, and so it's got a strong history. There's a strong reputation of United Cambodian Community in the community, and because of how I was able to work there, I got to learn through that process with community leaders. I got to build relationships with our individual members.
So you know somebody to help. Now,
Exactly.
Now let's get to the Cambodian community. You have a board, and what do you do in your position for the Cambodian community?
Well, really what we saw this as an opportunity. 2015 is the 40th anniversary since the Khmer Rouge took over Phnom Penh in Cambodia, and so that's when the genocide started. And 40 years later, that's a huge milestone in terms of that's when a lot of the next generation starts taking leadership. And I'm starting to see that shift right now, is that the older generation has done their work in terms of really creating a strong foundation, and now they're passing along their skills, they're learning to the second generation and having them to take leadership. And I see that my role and my transition as the executive director for UCC as that next step of where the Cambodian community is moving into, and really looking at how can the second generation like myself and also the younger generation really give back to the community and start really shifting and breaking the cycle of poverty, breaking the cycle of mental health disorders in the community, and really show the resiliency that we have, the strengths that we have, and even the rich culture.
So you have organizations within the in your outreach that are for the elderly, for the young people, whether it's through the culture or whether it's in the needs they have now, or whether it's a meeting place.
Right.
So what do you do? Does your board plan things? And just say about, because we're almost out of time, tell me 2 or 3 things that you feel are important that you do through the Cambodian community.
So United Cambodian Community, our mission is to really integrate the Cambodian community into mainstream society by bridging the gaps in culture, linguistic, and generational. And the way that we do that is through 3 main program areas. The first one is health, which is mental health and physical health. We do a lot of education, enrollment into Affordable Care Act. We also do youth development work, in which we're providing 3 different pathways of success for our youth, so higher education, youth workforce development work, and then also developing them in their arts. And then the third component is community engagement. So from the wide range of getting them to become citizens all the way to having them become advocacy leaders, learning what it looks like to speak on behalf of the Cambodian community at city council meetings or at the Long Beach Unified School District.
So you have things there, but you also prepare them for outside of there.
Exactly. UCC, we are that bridge between mainstream society and the Cambodian community, and we help. A lot of times the Cambodian community members come to us first because they feel safe, they trust us, and through that we're able to build their capacity so that they can better engage with what's going on in the greater community.
Do you feel that the older generation has been assimilated enough through their children or just through being here for so many years into the city of Long Beach?
No, I mean, a majority of them, about 50% of them are still monolingual speaking, and because of that, there's a lot of barriers in terms of accessing resources. So one of the key things that we really advocate for is for language access and also for culturally competent services, because there are unique things that you do to better serve the Cambodian community. And so that's one of the ways that UCC really steps in, is that we help provide translation services, we help teach other organizations on how to better serve the Cambodian community and make that connection with it.
And where are you located?
We're located in Central Long Beach on Cherry and Anaheim.
Is it Cherry?
Well, it's Dawson, so the major street is between
Dawson.
Cherry and Wanapara.
That's the area I grew up in.
Oh, yeah.
So I know right where it is. It used to be, is that the one, it used to be a theater.
Oh, really?
Yes, it was the Cabart,
Oh, that's
C-A-B-A-R-T theater. And so it was a large building on that corner, so right on Dawson.
great.
So, and where do you feel there's the most need right now?
Well, right now what we're really focused on is we really want to bring the Cambodian community from surviving to thriving, and that could look at many different levels. One of the things that we're currently working on is really advocating for more mental health resources within the Cambodian community. Over 62% of Cambodian adults have PTSD, and 52% of them have depression. And what we see is that it's passed along to the next generation, that there's a lot of family conflict, and because of that, the children do not have the skills to cope with stress, and there's other stressors of being part of an urban environment. And we really want to break that cycle. We want to create healing, and what we see is in mainstream society, the talking therapies don't really work, that it's more of a community healing process that needs to be done within the community.
Well, Susanna, I think that you are probably the best example to do something like that, because I can tell you care, I can tell that you've got the background, and you've certainly got the verbal skills and the presentation skills to make the need known. And I think also just the heart that you have, especially in dealing with the first generation that was here. You know, this PTSD, and it shows there really hasn't been an assimilation that we would have wanted.
Right.
So,
but it's getting there.
Okay.
What I love to see is I see our community members come in and they take ESL classes.
That's good.
They become citizens.
That's
and
good.
then we engage them in what's happening in the city. So one of my favorite stories is being able to see our older generation coming to City Hall, advocating for a language access policy, and speaking on behalf of the Cambodian community. And so through that, they really learn and gain confidence in who they are, and then they also are engaged in really creating what's happening in the culture of Long Beach.
That's wonderful. Well, I thank you very much. I mean, we should have had an hour to find out about. We could have talked a long time, but I thank you very much for being here, and thank you for all the work that you're doing there, and congratulations on your new position. And I'm all excited about what I can see the future for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And thank you very much, and we'll be right back.